Welcome back to Backward Point Podcast. My name is Nazar Sayed, and with me is
Bashar.
today we're talking about Babar Azam's top 3 centuries of all time. He scored 29 in the span of all three formats, and we're going to break down our favorites. Bashar is going to take us on a little bit of a journey of when he scored them and all that. We have stats ready. It's going to be a good podcast. Sit back, relax. But before you do that, don't forget to like and subscribe. We see a lot of people watching our podcasts that are not subscribed. We get the stats. We see you guys. So make sure that you're hitting those subscribe buttons, liking, sharing, and just letting people know that we exist, because we love the community that's being formed on this podcast, and we just want to grow it with you guys. So don't forget to do that. And then let's just get into it, man.
Let's get into it. At the time of recording this podcast, Babar Azam has 29 international hundreds.
There we go.
If I break down those hundreds, he has 9 in Test, 17 in ODIs, and 3 in T20Is. The most recent one coming against New Zealand in that second T20I.
I think we should also preface that the New Zealand T20 series is not finished.
Yes.
Depending on when you've seeing this, you could be seeing this months down the line. He has 29 as of what is today? April 21st, 2023.
21st, yeah.
April 21st, 2023. This is when we're shooting this episode. So whenever this comes out, maybe in the meantime, because there's a lot of games coming up, he could score a couple more. We don't know.
Yeah.
The way that this man's batting, he definitely could score another one on the last T20 if he wants. There's 5 ODS coming up. Like, there's a lot going on this year. As it stands today, it's 29, and we're ranking our favorite 3, right?
Yes, this is going to be totally our personal opinion. You can come find us later in the comment section, but this is going to be an episode dedicated to Babar Azam, his greatness, what he can achieve, and the hundreds that we have personally liked so far.
You know what's beautiful about this debate? There's no wrong answer.
There's no wrong answer.
All of them are beautiful. All of them are majestic. All of them are number one. So you could say one innings and I could say the other, and we're both right.
Yeah.
They both have weight to them. They both have gravitas to them, and they're just immensely beautiful to watch.
So this is going to be the top 3. We're going to go by order of 3, 2, 1.
Yep.
If I just start off with, I mentioned Babar Azam's hundreds, how many he scored in each format. He's also scored 100 in every test playing nation aside from Bangladesh, Ireland, if you consider them a test playing nation.
Of course.
And New Zealand. Okay.
Ireland slander.
Forgive me. And New Zealand. I just think if he plays a bit more matches there, he got injured the last test series we had in New Zealand. He broke his thumb, so he wasn't able to play that test series. I'm sure if he did play, he would have scored 100 there as well. He has hundreds in England, South Africa, Australia, all the SENA countries except for New Zealand. So SENA is South Africa, England, New Zealand, and Australia. You're considered to be a legendary great player if you have 100 in every country of the SENAs. Babar, I think, will achieve that in the coming years to come. But as of now, he's proven his mantle by scoring hundreds and runs in every part of the country he has played in. Diving into the ranking. So my third favorite 100 from Babar Azam is the 122 he scored against South Africa in South Africa. And the third T20I match, he scored 122 of 59 balls. The reason why I mentioned this 100, and by the way, this was a very difficult list to pick out.
Extremely.
Every 100 to me is very special.
Yeah.
Every successful milestone that Babar Azam has feels very personal. So to go out there and pick out the top 3 amongst his 29 incredible hundreds was a task for me. It was like, I gotta drop this one, I gotta pick this one, maybe this one. I'm not sure about that. Maybe an honorable mention here.
Yeah.
But the reason why I picked this 100 that he scored against South Africa in South Africa was just because of the context of how he scored it. Pakistan was chasing 205 runs. Babar and Rizwan had an opening partnership of 197 runs.
Beautiful.
And this was sort of the inception of that Babar and Rizwan opening pair. We saw them dominate South Africa in South Africa, tough conditions. And we chased 205 in 18 overs. Babar Azam made 122. He got out towards the end when we needed about 8 runs to go. I would have loved if he finished that match.
Crazy. Imagine what that would have done to his average too, by the way.
Shot up.
Yeah.
It would have skyrocketed. And the other reason why I mentioned the context is because the game before that, the second T20I, Pakistan got out for 140 and Babar Azam scored a run of ball 50. And for scoring that, he got a lot of hate on Twitter. Shoaib Akhtar was on PTV Sports at the time and he was talking.
No passion.
he was talking smack about Babar.
No brand.
No respect at all.
It was early days though.
And for him to come back and score that 122, big 100, that was, I think, his first 100 in T20Is. He leveled the record of Ahmed Shahzad for being the player to score 100 in all formats for Pakistan.
That's a good stat. I like that stat.
So I just feel like that innings, 15 fours, 4 sixes, he was really, every shot he was hitting that day was going into gaps. And that's when you know it's your day. And we saw Babar play some crazy shots. Like he had that dab towards third man.
Oh, beauty.
Between the third man fielder and the keeper. He
played that a few times actually.
He was carving up Yorkers for boundaries, which you rarely see that happen.
That was the same series he went against Stain, right? In the
No, that series that you're talking about is 2018. This is 2021.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was like peak COVID times. This is also the series where Babar Azam scored 197
or 195,
yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
we almost chased down 300 something.
Losing cause. Yeah, I remember that.
So,
yeah, great choice. Mine is quite similar, and mine is also in lieu of recent memory. The century he just most recently scored in the New Zealand Test, New Zealand T20 series. He scored it on the last ball, the last over. He went for 16 in that over against
Jimmy
Neesham, and it was similar because he was getting. The reason why I like that century as well is it's in my top 3. Maybe it could be a little bit of recency bias as well. I do admit that, but the reason why that century is important is because it was a 55 or 56 ball century, and it was a slap to the naysayers, right? Similar to what the South Africa century was. He went out there to prove himself, right? The Simon Duels. I never heard of Simon Duel. Like Simon Duel didn't say anything about the century that he scored. Oh my God, Babar took 5 balls to score a century, the last 16 runs. We didn't hear that statement. But when he takes 7 balls to score 6 runs to get to a 50, we hear that. All right, Simon Duel, I see you. But at the same time, it was in Lahore. It was his home ground. Uruj Mumtaz's amazing commentary on that. Just the pressure of trying for him to get to that milestone. He could have possibly not have gotten it. I don't think we were rooting for, not rooting, but we weren't thinking about his century at that time. But he definitely was.
Yeah,
and that's the class of this player. Is he's always looking to get one step ahead of what the common people is thinking. So he went for the century. He got it. The way he celebrated it, amazing. I think recently we talked on a podcast about how before he made just as he made contact, he knew it was a 4. He knew he had a century. I love the way he celebrates. It's like a release. It's like Goku Super Saiyan 3.
Yeah.
It's like everything, all of it, it's done. I leave it on the pitch. I don't take it home. Everything that I am worth is right there between the popping creases. And I love that. So yeah, that's my number 3 century.
And there's so much pressure on him as a captain, as one of the top 5 batsmen in the world right now, to continue to show up in every single match and score. Like the scenario with Babar is such where if he doesn't perform in 1 game or 2 games, people start questioning his abilities, which I think is it's sad. We saw him, flop in the last Asia Cup that happened.
Yeah, people were like, get him out.
Like, how do you do that, man? How do you even think about that?
Yeah, it's like when Virat Kohli was being questioned about Rohit Sharma. Remember? That was last year or the World Cup before that in 2021. They were like, Virat Kohli was like, wait, you want me to bench Rohit Sharma?
Yeah.
Rohit Sharma, you want me to bench him? Is that what you're saying?
It's funny you mentioned Virat, but it's because of players like Virat and Babar where their performances have been so incredible that if they don't perform in 1 or 2 games, they're so consistent that people are like, oh, this is weird. Like, they're not scoring runs. Like, Virat Kohli had a drought of 3 years of not scoring any international 100. But great players emerge from darkness.
Yeah, and I think it also shows the class of those players. We never once complained about why Umar Akmal wasn't scoring centuries. I don't remember having that podcast with you.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show the class and the standards that we put these players in. They're world class, and they've etched their names in the history and the annals of cricket forever. So we hold them to a very high standard.
Let's go to my second favorite 100 from Babar Azam. The 196 he scored against Australia in Karachi. Just the circumstances.
That's crazy that you just said that.
In the bowling attack, he scored those runs against. Just to give a brief overview of that match, Australia scored 556 in the first innings, and Pakistan, in response to that, scored 148.
Beautiful.
So Australia had a lead of 408 runs. By the way, in the first innings, Babar Azam was the top scorer amongst the 148. He scored 36 in the first innings. Australia batted again the second time. They scored 97, and they declared, setting Pakistan a target of 506 runs to win, and they gave them 2 days to bat, which is
Crazy.
enough to bowl any team out.
That's a
Especially
lot of time.
when you have a bowling attack where you have Cummins, Stark, Nathan Lyon, a terrific bowling trio, by the way. And Babar, when he came to bat, Pakistan was, I think, 20 for 2. So for him to come in and bat the way he did, for the longevity that he did. I saw BTS footage of that match, and talking heads of the Australian team. They thought they had the match in the bag. When the team is when Australia needed 8 wickets to win with 2 days to go, there was no doubt in their mind that they're not gonna win this match. It was more about when are they gonna win this match. But for Babar to come out, he batted 10 hours, over 10 hours.
Crazy.
He scored 196 runs. And had an incredible partnership with Abdullah Shafiq and Mohammad Rizwan to ensure Pakistan doesn't lose the match. But also on the 5th day, if you remember, there was a position where Pakistan was
Going for
about
the
to go
win.
for the chase.
Yeah.
They were about to go for the chase, and they were about to chase 506. So
What did Pakistan end up with though?
I
on
think
that series?
we went over 400. Like we scored 460. I want to say 460, 470.
Yeah.
So maybe if we had a bit more overs, we would have chased it. But to go in a position where you're gonna either lose the match, to go in a position of drawing it or even winning it, that is, to me, is incredible. And Babar Azam, he was due for a big test match score. You look at great players in the history of cricket. Players like Brian Lara, Sangakkara, Yunus Khan, whenever they get hundreds, they score big hundreds. Virat Kohli, Sachin, they have double hundreds. They have high 100 scores, and that's how you eventually even out the games where you don't do good. I want to also flex that I met Brian Lara in 2016, and I always asked him, what is the key to scoring those big marathon innings that you always scored? And he mentioned 2 things to me. He said, firstly, when he was in school, his school coach would tell him that, Brian, every time you get to a milestone of 50 or 100, reset your brain to go to 0 and restart your innings. And secondly, he said, in life and in cricket, you don't always score hundreds every single day. So you need to score those big hundreds, big double hundreds, 300s to even out your average for the days or the series where you don't do as well.
Yep. That's crazy that that's your number 2 because, spoiler alert, that's my number 1.
Okay.
For me, that 196 holds not a very special place in my heart. I think Babar Azam's class it's a 4th innings 196, by the way.
Yes.
Which itself has enough immense pressure. It's 26 or 20 for 2. You come out, you're in Karachi, you're at your home ground. The pressure is insane. And then you just go for it. You bat 10 hours. You basically want to solidify your name in the history, which he does. The Karachi board scoreboard honors board will have his name on there forever for that 196. Was he the man of the match of that game as well?
He was, yes.
Yeah. There was, like you said, there was a point where Pakistan had lost this game and had swung it so far back that they were in a position to chase it. That just shows the class of them. I think if he had gone and scored the 250 or big 200 that he was gonna, we would have probably won it. It would have been the biggest, highest chase ever in the history of the game.
Yeah.
And history of Test match cricket. I think that would have been so nice. Like I remember that was one of the Test matches that we stayed up to watch because we were like, "Yo, Babar's gonna score a double century." It was work night. Everybody who had things to do in the morning, but we were up watching it, and that's just a core memory of mine, and that's why it's my number 1 century from Babar Azam. And not only that, it was in my home ground of Karachi.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Babar Azam loves Karachi. He has another century there against England in the ODIs and in the T20.
he has
100
100 in T20s. He has 100 in ODIs. He scored against Sri Lanka.
Yeah, he loves Karachi, the national stadium in Karachi, and rightly so. Like it's been great for him as a Karachi Kings player, as a Karachi Kings captain, and as captain of Pakistan as well. That innings, that 196 was great. I wish he would have gotten over the line, gotten the 200, maybe sealed the game for Pakistan. Pakistan doesn't lose that series, then it's a whole other dynamic if Babar continues to play, and that is the class of the player. When Virat Kohli scores big centuries, India has a different mood, different momentum. Same thing with Babar. When Babar scores big centuries, Pakistan shifts their entire. It shifts the mood and the momentum of the game towards Pakistan. It's class of a big player, bro.
Yeah. The only suggestion that I would have for Babar,
Really, we're giving Babar Azam suggestions on this
yes, we
podcast.
are. Me, I play in the Markham Premier Cricket League for Share CC. I'm giving Babar Azam suggestions. Babar Azam is a great player, but for him to go from great to legendary, I want him to finish matches for Pakistan. Go not out. Make sure Pakistan crosses the line. That's the difference between a good, great, and a legendary player. The reason why Virat Kohli is a legendary player is because of the amount of hundreds he has chasing, the amount of non-outs that he has chasing, the amount of times he ensures that India crosses the line while he is at the crease, that he finishes the job himself.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That being said, what's your number one?
My number
We
one.
should, before you do your number one, we should do some honorable mentions.
Could we do that in the end?
We should do that before number one.
Before?
Yeah.
Okay. So honorable mentions. Babar Azam scored 100 in Australia in 2020. This was against the bowling attack of Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazelwood, Nathan Lyon, Cameron Green. That to me was a knock that was, it had to come from Babar.
Yeah.
You need to score test match hundreds and a test match 100 in Australia against Australia in order for your name to be solidified as one of the greats. It had to happen.
Yeah.
Babar scored 97 in the first match. And second match, he came back, scored 100. And those were tough batting conditions. And Pakistan had a weak middle order for him to come back and score that 100 and sort of say that, he's here. Babar Azam belongs at this stage against that bowling attack. It just puts your name out there.
What position was he playing?
Number 4.
Number 4?
Yeah.
I also remember on honorable mentions the series before that where he was playing fourth, now number 6, and he was coming down the order and he was trying to solidify his place in the team. Big credits to Mickey Arthur for sticking with Babar on that. Him against Stain. I know it may not have been a century. I don't remember if he scored a century in that series.
No, he didn't.
But him against Stain in the Test series in 2018 is where he was it was struggling consistently. We forget that Babar actually took a long time to get going in Test cricket.
It took him, I think, 21 Test matches to score his first Test match 100, and he was averaging in the 20s in the first 15 to 18 Test matches he played.
So that it's very unusual to see this kind of stick-to-itiveness from the Pakistani Cricket Board and the Pakistani management. I'm so glad they did that, because if they had taken him out of Test, then who knows what kind of player he becomes. Because at the end of the day, whatever happens, we become legendary players by playing Test match games. I had huge doubts about that until I started following Test match cricket and realized why Jimmy Anderson is the greatest of all time, why Stuart Broad is the greatest of all time, why Kane Williamson is the greatest of all time. Is because these people show up in white kits in red ball cricket. That's when you solidify your name. And I think Babar has understood the assignment on that. And it took him a while, took him a bit of a jump start, but nobody was questioning his mettle on that. They just needed to know if he was capable of handling the Test match pressure, because he was doing great in ODIs. He had the quickest, least amount of innings to hit 1,000 runs, back-to-back centuries.
I think he was least for 1,000, 2003, and 4,000.
Yeah.
And he's up there with Hashim Amla, Virat Kohli, and A.B. de Villiers.
Yeah. So we knew that, right? But we just needed to see him come in and make his own in Test match cricket, and that's why that series was very important to me. And that century that you're talking about in Australia was also very important because he solidified it. There's only a few players like the great Yasir Shah, Mohammad Yusuf, who have scored centuries in Australia.
Yasir Shah has 100 in pink ball cricket in a pink ball test in Adelaide Oval.
That's wild.
That is absolutely crazy.
Omar Akmal doesn't have that. But my point was, it was very important for him to score that century to put his name, because he did score 97 in the game before, and it's tough. 97s, 196s, they're so close to the milestone that they're aiming for that it kind of gets annoying when you don't reach it. I was really glad that he had that. I just need him to have one in New Zealand as well. I just need him to do that. I'm hoping, this is my hope, a prayer for me, that when Pakistan goes to India to play the World Cup, he gets a century there. I really need him to have a century in India. It's been a very long time since a Pakistani player has a century in India. Last time was Nasir Jamshed in 2012. In 2013, my bad.
Yeah. I think
It's been
to score
10
back
years.
hundreds.
Yeah, he did. He did score back to back. Nasir Jamshed, bro. We should do a podcast on him. But the downfall, he was caught cheating in like his grade.
He was first caught cheating in his grade 9 government exams, and then he just got cheating in life. So
Yeah. So tough beat on him. But yeah, Nasir Jamshid was the last player to score a century in India. And I would love for Babar Azam. Actually, any Pakistani to do that, go back in India and do that. But if Babar does it, it'll just be a little bit better.
I agree, and I think what you mentioned, Babar had a tough start to his Test match career, but he has now brought his average to 48, which I think is incredible. We'll talk about what he needs to do in the future to keep improving and to keep scoring hundreds. But let's go to I think your second favorite hundred and my number one all-time
Yes.
favorite hundred, Babar Azam. I'm thinking this might be the same hundred that we're talking about. Is this the 101 against New Zealand at the World Cup in 2019?
100%, bro.
Okay.
100%. There's a little bit of a bias on that century as well. No doubt, it's in a lot of people's books the greatest century Babar Azam has ever scored, which has put him on the map, solidified him as the number 3 batsman, position number 3. He's like, that's it. There's no going back from here. It was even a little bit more better for us because we were in that ground while we were watching that game.
I think we need to give a lot of context of why we were there, how we got there, and why that 100 became so special. So we had bought our World Cup tickets a year before in the draw from ICC.
Yeah.
We were trying to get the game for India and Australia, but God willing, we didn't get it,
Because both of the games in Pakistan lost.
and we lost both of the games.
That's crazy. I'm glad we didn't.
Instead, one of my lifetime dreams was to watch a cricket match at Lords, the home of cricket, the mecca of cricket. And so we had applied for the tickets for Pakistan versus South Africa and then Pakistan versus New Zealand. That was at Edgbaston in Birmingham. So we were going to England to watch the game for Pakistan versus South Africa, and everybody was laughing at us. They're like, "Why are you guys going? Cancel your tickets."
Yeah,
they're
I
gonna
remember.
lose.
Big laughing stock situation. And also, people really like to put you down when you're trying to do something out of the blue like that.
But we were always going for the experience and to,
Yeah.
and to support
And
our
travel.
team.
Like, we had never been to the UK. Like, we've seen London in Kabhi Khushi Ka Kabhi so many times. And we wanted to actually experience that. And we had a lot of different reasons of going to the UK, but those two games, like you said, the South African game in Lords, it was very important for us to watch a game in Lords, the home of cricket, and then the New Zealand game, because we also wanted to travel a little
Yeah.
bit more, see the UK a little bit. So we went to Birmingham for.
So we were coming off of a win against South Africa, a massive win against South Africa at Lords, to then go to Birmingham. We had booked an Airbnb, and the Edgbaston Stadium was like sort of in the middle of a suburb, if you want to call it.
Yeah. The Edgbaston Stadium was literally middle of there were flats all around,
Yeah.
houses. We didn't even know. Excuse me. I didn't even know we were at the stadium until we were at the stadium, because
Yeah.
it felt like we were just going through like a neighborhood, and then boom, Edgbaston. I'm like, whoa, that's interesting.
And the day of the game, we woke up and it was freezing cold. It was like 9 or 10 degrees.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's overcast. We went to McDonald's, get some breakfast.
Oh, we walked from there. I remember that. That was a good vibe.
And we walked from there, and
It was chilly, and we're from Canada.
We were like, "Yo, are they gonna have the game or not?" So it's so cool. I wouldn't want to be out there playing. It was overcast. There was no sun out. There was chances
A
of
little bit of drizzle as well.
drizzle. People were
moisture in
texting
the
us. They're
air.
like, "Yo, you guys are at the ground. Is it raining or not?"
Yeah, same people who were making fun of us were like, "Yo, is the game happening or not?" I'm like, "Bro, I thought you didn't want you don't want this update, but okay."
And Pakistan had an incredible start. Shaheen Afridi got 3 wickets up front. Mohammad Amr got a wicket up
One
front.
of the best Shaheen spells as well.
An incredible spell from Shaheen. And New Zealand, because of poor captaincy, scored 240. Pakistan were 2 wickets down for 44 when Babar Azam, he was in there in the middle, had a partnership with Mohammad Hafiz. Those were incredibly tough batting conditions. The ball was moving up front, and when you have bowlers like Matt Henry and Trent Bolt, who are incredible wide ball
Saudi playing that
bowlers.
game?
Saudi was on the bench because Matt Henry had a great World Cup. So the ball was moving up front. It was swinging because of overcast conditions. And later on, the ball was gripping and turning. So I think even if you ask Babar, he would say those were incredibly tough conditions and testing conditions to bat in. For Babar to carve out that inning, to bring the best out of him, and just to give you a vibe of how the stadium was, it was 99.9% Pakistanis and wild Pakistanis.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've never seen
Like,
Pakistanis.
the
that
Lord's
wild.
crowd was sophisticated, but this Edgbaston crowd, it was wild.
Just partying.
They were partying.
They were loud.
it was just a place to be with, and for me to be there with you, we had we grew up watching and playing together, and we had this podcast together. For me to witness that innings that Babar Azam, he was a surgeon that day. He had constructed an incredible innings. He built that, and my most favorite part about that innings was the fact that he finished the match not out. He was on the other end when Sarfaraz Ahmed scored the winning runs. And I can never, ever forget how the stadium erupted when Babar Azam scored that shot off Lockie Ferguson to cut it towards deep backward point to get to his 100.
There was a lot of teasing for the 100, by the way. You remember that? Like,
Yep.
people were like, "Oh, like I saw so many people pull out their phones for that," and then he would miss a ball, or it would be a dot ball. And then he eventually went to that 100, and it literally felt like the whole stadium erupted. It was beautiful to watch. It was one of those moments that I have etched into my memory. Just being, and then we went outside after the game, and people were like dancing, doing bhangra. We have video and footage of Bashar talking to a lot of journalists. By the way,
Mirza Iqbal Beg was there. It was just
Irfan Junaid was there, bro. That's where I met Irfan, and we became friends after that. A friend of the pod, by the way. So like a lot of amazing things happened from that day. It was just a great vibe all along. Good times, man. Good times.
Just before that match, New Zealand was undefeated in the whole tournament. And for Pakistan, the scenario was such that they had to win all of their matches in order to have even a sniff at qualifying for top four and make it to the semifinals.
And by the way, they did. They won all of them after the loss against India, Australia, and West Indies for whatever reason.
And the washout against Sri Lanka.
Yep, they won all the games after that.
They beat England, the champions. They beat New Zealand, the finalists.
South Africa,
Bangladesh, Afghanistan. So I think they had a decent World Cup.
All they needed was one more point. That bugs me so much. If the Sri Lanka game doesn't get washed out, and if we don't play poorly against West Indies, we had those two chances to succeed and make it over. But
yeah, and so I think this 100
what could have been.
This 100 was the 100 that made Babar Azam into Babar Azam.
Yeah, the legacy was put in stone.
We saw after a very long time a player turn up in almost every single match of the tournament. Babar Azam finished the tournament with the highest runs for Pakistan, the highest ever run scored by a Pakistani at a World Cup tournament. And that to me was like, it gave you confidence that we have found somebody special.
Yeah, the middle order finally has a backbone. We can rely on someone to go over. Also, that World Cup, Imam ul Haq also had a good World Cup, by the way. He had a strong World Cup. Shaheen had a good World Cup. Like that World Cup had solidified a lot of players. Yeah. Speaking of which, Amr actually had a good World Cup well. He had some good spells in there against South Africa, especially, I remember. And I think he got a wicket on his first ball against New Zealand as well.
I think in his first over, yeah.
I feel like it was his first ball. Because Shaheen started, and then Amr came from the other side. It was the first ball.
I actually think Mohammad Hafiz opened the bowling attack.
Are you sure?
Yep, I think I was just checking today. Yeah.
Okay, then I just remember Amr got his wicket on his first ball. And
he got Martin Guptill, right? Inside
Guptill. Yeah. He either was bowled or it was caught out.
I think it was inside edge bowled.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just great vibes. That century hold a special place in my heart. Because of that century, Babar Azam holds a special place in my heart because, we obviously our love for cricket stems way before, like, since we were kids. But getting it solidified like that, and just like, I don't think I will ever not be a Pakistan cricket fan again. There were some dark periods there where I stopped watching cricket. The Azhar Ali period is the one that I'm referring to, when we were just getting hammered left and right. But after 2017, I came back. And then after that innings, I was like, I'm on board. I'm on the Babar Azam train, and take me anywhere you want, buddy. I'll go with you.
Yeah, I think even when Babar retires, the 100s that we just mentioned, these will go down, if not top 3, but top 10 at least, in the mantle of his 100s that he has. Going forward, where do you think Babar Azam is going to finish his career? I think one place where he needs to really improve is test matches. We were talking about, the great players of test match cricket and how many 50s and 100s they have, and the ratio or the gap between their 50s and 100s, they're very close. Babar, on the other hand, because he had a slow start to his test career, he has 26 50s and 900s. I think he needs to close that gap between his 100s and 50s. And that, I think, in turn is going to help him become an even better player and score even more 100s.
I agree with that. I also think that we'll probably be here in a couple of years doing a part 2 to this episode because that's just how many centuries he's going to score in the next 12 to 18 months, right? I think there's a lot of centuries coming in, a lot of cricket to be played, a lot of ICC events coming in. I have no doubt that he has 29. He's going to finish with over 50, 60 centuries, maybe more.
Yeah.
So I think one day we calculated that if he goes on to this average for the next 8, 9 years, which he can.
He's 28. He can play at least 10 years.
Yeah, then we're looking at around maybe 70, 75 centuries.
He's been playing since 2015. And so if in 8 years he scored, let's say, average out to 30 hundreds, he's scoring at least 3 to 4 hundreds every year. And right now he's peaking. So he is just 28. He is just reaching his peak. And the sad part is, like, he's been at his peak for the past couple of years, but he hasn't played as many ODIs as maybe he should have. So that's why I'm also very excited about this year, the year of 2023, because of so many ODI matches coming up. I think Babar Azam, we will see the best of him, the prime of Babar Azam, and some of the best knocks that he's going to score in his career that will hopefully be etched into our memories forever.
I agree. Babar Azam is a world-class player. It's a world-class year. It's a World Cup year. We're going to see a lot more runs coming through the mantle. And I'm just really excited. I really hope to make this video again soon. And I'm pretty sure it will. Like, I think we should do one again when he hits 50 centuries, because that's a good milestone to come back to. And then 75.
The one thing that I wanted to talk about in the end was, we don't understand right now, or we cannot comprehend the impact of Babar Azam on Pakistan cricket. He is inspiring the next generation of batsmen who are coming. I went to Karachi recently. I was talking to kids on the street playing, asking them, just surveying around, what's your favorite player? Who's your favorite batsman? And for the first time in a long time, I saw people wanting to become batters. People wanting to, score runs, score hundreds like Babar Azam. And we need players like that, like him, to inspire the next generation. In the past, we've seen, Wasim Akram, Shoaib Akhtar, Waqar Yunus inspire a generation of fast bowlers. People used to watch them and want to pick up the ball and ball fast. This time around, people are watching Babar Azam bat, and they want to bat like him. They want to, have those cover drives like him, score hundreds like him. And so I think in that sense, we are still not, encapsulating the magnitude of the impact that he's going to have on Pakistan cricket.
A prime example is Saim Ayub.
Yeah.
He was fangirling with Babar just recently on a PCB media video. And he was just saying the greatest moment of my life was playing against Babar. Like, him scoring his 50 and Babar praising him. He has that photo framed.
Yeah.
That's the impact that Babar already has.
And he got teary-eyed talking about Babar Azam.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way, man. I always sometimes get choked up talking about Babar, because we've seen so many dark periods in Pakistani cricket from 2009 when we lost international status to
the match fixing scandal,
to the 2011 World Cup, to just the complete downtrodden, like from 2015 to 2019, just being completely down in the dumps. It's good to have this rejuvenation. I feel that amongst all of cricket fans. Some are just toxic by nature, but a lot of them have come around. The sport has gained new fans in the past 4 to 5 years because of this man, and I hope to see a lot more centuries come through.
I was just the other day watching the analytics of our page, our Instagram page, and so many young people follow us and watch us. And I was just looking back and thinking, like, perhaps they started watching cricket when Babar Azam debuted. So what they've seen is Babar's whole career progression, which I think is incredible. And I think it's an absolute privilege and a blessing to be witnessing the era of Babar Azam. And I hope him, more success, more hundreds, and more success for Pakistan.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to end it. I think our list is pretty solid. I didn't know that we were gonna match like that in the number 1 and 2 spot. If we did, maybe.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
I really like the century against England in Karachi again. I just love the Karachi centuries. I know it's a very flat deck. It's nothing remarkable, but I love when he scores centuries in my home city. I feel like every time his name is on the honor boards, it's a good sight.
Yeah, I also want to give an honorable mention to the 100 he scored against Australia, and I think it was in Lahore, which it was the highest chase for Pakistan in ODIs, and he finished that match, and he scored incredibly quick. So, another honorable mention.
We can go on and on. All 29 of them are like in the top 10 somehow.
Yeah.
So,
thanks for watching Macro Point.
Yeah.
if you guys want to talk about your top three, if you agree with us, if you disagree with us, if we maybe missed somehow mentioning one of the great hundreds, comment down below. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like it, share it with your friends, press the bell icon.
We see all the comments. So like if you think that we're not seeing it, that's not true. We literally see all of the comments. And we like them, and we love the discourse. You know, even if you're being disrespectful, we will come at you. So don't worry about that. Give us your thoughts, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Take care. Bye.
Take care, guys. Babar Azam Zindabad.